Recording is on. Yeah. Okay, I got the note. Okay, here we go. Tell me when you're ready. Okay. Well, hello, my name is Sandra Steingraber. I'm speaking to you from upstate New York. I'm a PhD biologist and I work as a senior scientist at the Science and Environmental Health Network. I'm also a co-founder of Concerned Health Professionals of New York. Our group was formed 10 years ago when fracking was proposed for New York State, and our then governor needed to decide whether to prohibit fracking or permit it. We scientists began to compile the medical and scientific findings on the risks and harms of fracking into a compendium, and at the same time, our state's health department also began to review the evidence for harm. In December 2014, both groups, the government scientists plus the independent scientists in my group, reached a conclusion, namely that fracking injures the health of people who live nearby, both because of water and air pollution, and current technologies cannot make fracking safe enough to allow it, and therefore fracking was banned in the state of New York. At that time, 400 studies in the peer-reviewed scientific literature showed the evidence for harm, and now, 9 years later, there are almost 2,500 such studies. In other words, today we have 6 times as much evidence for harm as when we banned fracking in New York in 2014. The just released 9th edition of our Fracking Science Compendium is more than 600 pages long. Let me highlight for you some of our main findings. First, fracking is a public health crisis. As documented in more than 120 studies, public health harms that are now linked with drilling fracking associated infrastructure are well documented. They include cancers, asthma, respiratory diseases, skin rashes, heart problems, and mental health problems. Multiple corroborating studies of pregnant women residing near fracking operations across the nation show harm to infant health and pregnancy. These include birth defects, preterm birth, and low birth weight. Harm to children also include blood cancers and asthma. Older people living near fracking wells have shorter lifespans and more heart problems, and they don't live as long. Most recently, these 3 new studies in Pennsylvania show that children living near fracking wells have much worse asthma and 7 times the risk of lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. They are also born smaller. In sum, the vast body of scientific studies now published on hydraulic fracturing in the peer-reviewed scientific literature confirms that the climate and public health risks from fracking are real, and the range of environmental harms wide. Our examination uncovered no evidence that fracking can be practiced in a manner that does not threaten human health directly or without imperiling climate stability upon which human health depends. Importantly, no set of rules can fix the problems created by fracking. The injection of ever-increasing volumes of fluid into an ever-increasing number of wells creates significant deformations in the shale bedrock. These are translated upwards a mile or more to the surface, and along the way, these so-called pressure bulbs can impact in unpredictable ways faults and fissures in the overlying rock layers, including layers that intersect freshwater aquifers. In Ohio, we know that old coal mining operations can open pathways for fracking fluids to contaminate groundwater. Regulations cannot stop air pollution. Fracking is like a giant cigarette in the earth, and fracking wells pollute the air in ways that are unavoidable. We have multiple studies now from Ohio showing toxic air near fracking operations, including high levels of the carcinogen benzene. Importantly, regulations cannot stop radioactive emissions from fracking operations. The deep earth is full of radioactivity, especially in eastern Ohio. Radioactive elements commonly found in shale formations are released during the process of drilling and fracking. They're released from wells, and they can accumulate in tubes, pipes, and equipment at fracking sites known to cause health risks. Studies, once again from Ohio, show elevated levels of radon and elevated levels of radium in fracking wastewater. And finally, regulations cannot stop the destruction of water and the destruction of forests that also inevitably accompany fracking wherever it goes. In Ohio, we have data showing that water withdrawals from streams reduce the flow of streams in ways that can disrupt entire ecosystems, threaten endangered species, increase invasive species, And we also know that fracking in Ohio destroys 10 acres of forest for every well pad constructed. Well pads are sources of noise and light pollution, and research from other states show that the public will avoid recreational areas when fracking activity takes place within them. Therefore, fracking your state parks not only threatens to risk your drinking water, threatens to destroy your air quality, but also will ruin recreational areas for the public, which we know green spaces are part of good public health. And for all of these reasons, fracking does not belong in Ohio state parks. Thanks.